Hello viewers. Today we will discuss about asylum seeker. We will cover brief overview, eligibility to apply asylum, required documentation, asylum screening and detention, asylum interview process, application registration card, ARC, getting decision, frequently asked question. You must apply for asylum if you want to stay in the UK as a refugee. Eligibility: you must have left your country and be unable to go back because you fear persecution. Application timing: apply upon arrival in the UK or as soon as returning home becomes unsafe. Delays increase the risk of refusal. Screening process: you'll meet with an immigration officer for an initial screening. Decision process: after screening, the Home Office decides if your claim can proceed. If approved, you'll have an asylum interview. Work restriction: you're generally not allowed to work while your application is pending. Unaccompanied children: children can apply alone if they have no adult relatives also seeking asylum. Waiting requirements: you'll be informed after screening of any actions needed while waiting for a decision. Eligibility: to stay in the UK as a refugee, you must be unable to live safely in any part of your own country because you fear persecution there. If you're stateless, your own country is the country you usually live in. This persecution must be because of your race, your religion, your nationality, your political opinion. Anything else that puts you at risk because of the social, cultural, religious, or political situation in your country, for example, your gender identity, or sexual orientation. You can include your partner and your children under 18 as dependents in your application, if they're with you in the UK. When your claim might not be considered. Your claim might not be considered if you are from an EU country, travelled to the UK through a safe third country, have a connection to a safe third country where you could claim asylum. Generally, a safe third country is one that you're not a citizen of, you would not be harmed in, would not send you on to another country where you would be harmed. Documents you must provide. You'll need documents for yourself and your dependents, partner and children under 18, for your asylum screening. Documents you should bring, if you have them, include passports and travel documents, identification documents, for example identity cards, birth and marriage certificates or school records. Anything you think will help your application. Documents to prove your UK address. If you're already in the UK, you and your dependents must bring documents that prove your UK address. Living in your own accommodation. You'll need to provide documents showing your full name and address. This could be a bank statement, housing benefit book, council tax notice, tenancy agreement, household bill, staying with someone else. You'll need to provide a recent letter, less than 3 months old, from the person you're staying with to confirm you have their permission to stay. Documents showing the full name and address of the person you're staying with, like a council tax notice, tenancy agreement, or household bill. Attend an asylum screening. You register your asylum claim at a screening. This is a meeting with an immigration officer where you tell them about your case. You'll have your screening at the UK border, if you claim asylum as soon as you arrive. You can also be screened once you're in the UK if you become eligible for asylum. At your screening you'll be photographed, have your fingerprints taken, have an interview to check who you are and where you're from. You'll be asked why you want asylum. You can bring written evidence to support your claim if you want, as well as any other documents you need. You'll need to say if you or your dependents are taking any medication, and give any relevant medical information. A dependent is your partner and any children under 18. You can ask for a male or female interviewer, but your choice might not always be available. Screening at the UK border. You must tell a border force officer that you want to claim asylum. Your application will be registered and you'll be screened. Ask for an interpreter if you need one. Screening in the UK. If you're already in the UK, you must call the Asylum Registration Appointment line to book your screening appointment. They'll ask simple questions about you and your family. You'll also be asked if you need help with housing. You will not be asked why you're claiming asylum during this call. Tell the asylum registration appointment line if you need to bring any dependents to your screening. You're a child and need to be accompanied. You need an interpreter at your screening. If eligible for asylum, you will be scheduled for a registration screening interview at the nearest location. Do not go without an appointment, as you may not be seen. Even if you are homeless, you must call the registration appointment line to receive instructions. After your screening. After your screening, the Home Office will review your case and decide whether it can be considered in the UK. You'll be sent an Asylum Registration Card, ARC, to your UK address, unless you've been detained. If the Home Office cannot send you an ARC immediately, they'll send you an appointment letter telling you what to do next. You might also be sent an asylum questionnaire. If you get one, fill it in and return it by the deadline. The address and deadline are written on the letter that comes with the questionnaire. If you cannot fill it in, call the Home Office Asylum team. Their phone number is on the letter. The Home Office will contact you about your asylum claim. If your contact details change, you must update them using the online form. If your case can be considered in the UK, it will be given to a caseworker. If your case cannot be considered in the UK, you may be sent to a safe country that will consider your asylum claim. This might happen if you've travelled to the UK through a safe third country, or you have a connection with another country that you could claim asylum in. Generally, a safe country is one that you're not a citizen of, you would not be harmed in, would not send you on to another country where you would be harmed. The Home Office can decide to send you to a safe country after your screening or your asylum interview. If the Home Office cannot place you in another safe country, your case will be considered in the UK and given to a caseworker. Caseworkers. You may have an asylum interview with your caseworker. They'll make a decision about your application. They'll also explain the asylum process and tell you what to do while you wait for an asylum decision. You'll need to go to regular meetings with your caseworker. These are known as reporting events. If you do not go to your reporting events, your asylum claim may be withdrawn and you may be detained. Tell your caseworker if you have any special needs, for example if you have a disability or need medication. Application Registration Card, ARC. The ARC shows you've applied for asylum. You can use it to show who you are, show whether you have permission to work, get health or education services. If you do not have your ARC, contact the Home Office using the online form if you have any problems. For example, you've not got your ARC through the post. You've lost it. It's been stolen. It's expired. You'll be asked to give your Home Office or port reference number, and your ARC reference, if you know it. Detention or imprisonment. You may be detained in an immigration removal centre while awaiting a decision on your asylum application. Outcomes include release if granted permission to stay in the UK, continued detention if denied permission, until removal from the UK. Detention and removal may occur if another country is responsible for your asylum claim. You may have the right to appeal a detention decision. When detention is typically avoided. A child, elderly, pregnant, or part of a family with children. Recognized as a victim of trafficking. Able to provide independent evidence of torture. Experiencing a mental or physical condition that cannot be managed in detention. Asylum interview. Your asylum interview will usually take place soon after your screening. You may be granted protection status without having to attend an interview. This will happen if there is enough evidence from your screening and your questionnaire, if you did one. You can read about asylum claims, where an interview may not be required. Your application will usually be withdrawn if you do not go to your asylum interview. You'll have to apply again if you still want to stay in the UK. You'll get a letter telling you when and where to attend your interview. If your partner or children under 18 were included in your application as dependents, they may also need to attend an interview. The letter will tell you if they do. Interview process. Asylum interviews are typically conducted alone, without family members present. An interpreter will be provided if needed, and all information shared is confidential and not disclosed to your home country's authorities. Use the interview to describe experiences of persecution in your home country. Reasons for fearing return to your home country. Expect questions on sensitive topics. It's important to fully explain your situation. Share all relevant information, as omissions may negatively affect your case. The caseworker will document the interview in an interview record, which you will receive afterward. Most interviews are conducted over video call, with audio recorded, and you will be given a copy of this recording. Evidence you'll need. You'll need to send the following documents to the Home Office by post, if you have them: birth certificate, passport, and national ID card. These need to be the original versions and not copies. You should also send these identity documents for any dependents included in your application. You also need to email any evidence you have of your persecution, and any other evidence you think will help your application, to the Home Office. If you cannot send your identity documents and evidence before your interview, you'll need to send them after. You may be asked to send extra evidence to your caseworker after the interview, if they think it might help your application. You can bring a legal representative to this interview, for example a lawyer or solicitor. Getting decision. Your application will be decided as soon as possible. It may take longer if it's complicated, for example. Your supporting documents need to be verified. You need to attend more interviews. Your personal circumstances need to be checked, for example because you have a criminal conviction or you're currently being prosecuted. Ask your legal advisor if you want an update on your application. You'll be given or refused permission to stay in one of the following ways. Permission to stay, if you have refugee status or humanitarian protection. Refugee status means you're recognized as a refugee, as defined in the Refugee Convention. You may get humanitarian protection if you do not qualify for refugee status, but cannot return to your own country. You can read about how applications are decided. What you'll get. If you're granted refugee status or humanitarian protection, you'll have permission to stay in the UK for a minimum of 5 years. You can also apply for a refugee integration loan. After 5 years, you can apply to settle in the UK. Your partner and children under 18. If you included a partner or children under 18 in your application as dependents, they'll usually get permission to stay for 5 years. Dependents can apply to settle in the UK as a family after 5 years. Dependents are not given refugee status or humanitarian protection unless they make their own claim for asylum. However, they can apply for a refugee integration loan if you have refugee status or humanitarian protection. Permission to stay for other reasons. You may get permission to stay for other reasons if you do not qualify for permission to stay as a refugee or for humanitarian reasons. How long you can stay will depend on your situation. You may be able to apply to extend your stay or settle in the UK towards the end of your stay. No reason to stay. You'll be asked to leave the UK if you do not qualify for refugee status, and your caseworker decides there's no other reason for you to stay. You may be able to appeal against the decision. You'll have to leave if you do not appeal in the time allowed, or if your appeal is unsuccessful. You can leave by yourself. You can get help with returning home. Be forced to leave. You'll get a letter before this happens, then you may be detained without warning at an immigration removal centre, and then removed from the UK. Asylum helplines. Charities offer helplines that assist with understanding the asylum process, finding legal representation, and support with living in the UK, such as housing and English classes. Legal advice. Legal advice is available to support your asylum claim. Housing and financial support. You may qualify for asylum support, housing and financial aid, starting on the day you register your asylum claim. Help with returning home. Assistance may be available if you wish to return to your home country. Under 18 applicants. If you have an adult relative claiming asylum, apply as part of their claim. If not in social services care, use the walk-in service at the asylum intake unit. If accompanied by a responsible adult, they must attend with you, bringing proof of address and photo ID. If without a responsible adult, go to the police, social services, or visit the asylum intake unit directly. Thank you for watching.